Hey friends, welcome to the Friday Drive, our first edition. I've been off for a couple weeks, so I apologize, but we are back on track and putting some of these things in front of you. I want to spend some time today in a concept that we're actually going to do a whole e-course on, but I didn't want to wait for you guys to have this. I want you guys to at least have the beginnings of this to understand, because you can start applying this right away. And so we're using the whiteboard today to kind of bring some of this to life. So we call this the cycle of buy-in. So many times I hear, especially when we're doing 360s and things like that on people, we hear about people on your team being left behind, or, hey, I'm never enrolled in this, or they really don't care what I think, or they're not really asking, they're kind of coming in and telling, or whatever that is. And so you may experience some of that in your organization. You may know people in your organization that kind of experience this. This is called the cycle of buy-in, because we all know that weigh-in equals buy-in. When we invite people into the process with us, something really powerful happens. But there is an element of art to this that we want to make sure that we're driving through in our organization. So when we talk about the cycle of buy-in, the first thing we're talking about is clarify the problem. And usually that's done with a statement, okay? What is the problem we're trying to solve here, okay? We'll put some kind of a statement together around this clarity of the problem, because we want everybody to be solving for the same thing. And so a lot of times we forget to do this. We walk in, we kind of talk about it a little bit, and people can get the wrong idea of what we're solving for and what we're not solving for, or whatever. When you have that statement, it's really clear that this is what we're trying to get an answer to, a solution to, a product against, whatever. Okay, and so we want to really spend time clarifying that problem before we take it out to the masses, okay? The second thing we want to do is called the art of Q&L. Now you've heard Q&A, right? Questions and answers. The art of Q&L is questions and listening. As a leader, or as a team member, or as somebody who's coming in with this problem that we're trying to solve, and we want to get buy-in from other people, we've got to come in with questions, and then we have to actively listen to what they're saying. We have to really hear, because there may be a department that you're going into and you're asking the questions, and they've got data that's really going to help solve this problem. But a lot of times, we as leaders or we as team members, we miss this. We go in and we kind of drop the statement. We already think we know the answer in our head, so we don't really ask the right questions, and we don't really listen for what they can offer us. There may be something in that department, a piece of data, an already existing solution, anything like that, that could be present if we learn how to ask the right questions, be fully present, and listen to what they have to say. This is a research tool. This is something we're going in and we're researching. We're getting as much information as we can so that we can actually tackle that problem as it's happening. And we want to involve people in the process. When you're asked something, think of on the receiving end. When somebody comes into your office and says, hey, I need your opinion on this, or I need to understand this better. Could you help me figure this out? There's something very empowering about that if you're on the receiving end of that, especially if that person continues to ask meaningful questions and then actively listens to you without being distracted in a whole lot of other ways, okay? And so the art of Q&L. So now we've kind of got everybody, sort of fired up about this. Then we talk about the collective what if. This is a collaborative innovation session. This is, let's invite the right people to the room. Let's hear what everybody has to say. Let's get all that data on the table. Let's inspire them with everything we've learned in our Q&L session and put it all on the table and say, okay, guys, let's solve this together. And so everybody's actively kind of working on this together. And hey, what if we did this? What if we tried this? What if we applied this from over here, over here? This collective what if is magical, because what's happening is not just you're solving a problem, you're actually cohesively gelling a team together because they're all working on it. Where opinions are heard, where no idea is shot down, no matter how bad it is. If you know anything about innovation or ideation, what you'll realize is that the really good ideas, so if you look at the spectrum of, hey, bad ideas are right out here on the edge, the good ideas are just inside those really bad ideas. Okay, and that's how we're going to collectively solve the what if. But we're doing it together, and we're inviting the right people into the room. Even if those people are contrarians, if they're sometimes hard to work with or whatever, the bottom line is when you bring them on as assets to that process, something meaningful happens in that. Now, we've kind of come away with several solutions coming out of this, and now we have to present it maybe to upper management or to a client or to whatever that looks like. this is really, really important to keep this going, the credit flywheel. So we're in that room as a leader, and I've seen leaders do this, and it can be so demoralizing to all the people that were part of this process. The leader gets in and says, I came up with this, I solved this problem, I did this thing, and I thought of it this way, and we sort of subtly work some things in. In fact, when you give credit to other people, that's a level 5 leader move. When you give credit to other people in this process, there's something magical that happens to make this thing go a lot smoother the next time, right? We call it the flywheel because it's about momentum. It's about turning this wheel. And so when you get in there and say, hey, first of all, I want to acknowledge this entire team. Let me just kind of list all the people that were part of this. Everybody contributed to this. Terry did a great job over here. Ben brought this thing in. Ann was amazing at organizing all this stuff. And Ted and John, they brought in some amazing ideas to this. And so we collectively went after this, and here's how we came up with these ideas. And then we present our ideas. What's important is you're presenting the actual solution, which is what we're here for. But I think even the bigger thing is we have just made this cycle easier, right? Because now we have momentum that's actually building, because all these people go, when I went into that process with Tim or with Dave or with Sally, right? What happened was at the end, they gave us credit in this, and we can't wait to do this again. And so now we're a problem solving, we're an innovation engine, right? That's happening because this cycle is now turning. This credit flywheel has given this spark and fuel into some of that stuff. And so if this isn't the way you guys solve problems in your organization, come up with new products, new ideas, whatever it is, you're really going to want to think about the buy-in cycle. How do we make this thing work? Okay, the cycle of buy-in is a really important mechanism. A lot of times we forget the mechanics behind what we're doing. So I know that's a little bit long for a Friday drive. There'll be an e-course on this. We'll talk a lot more about each one of these, but I wanted to kind of get this into your hands before we got there. Secondly, what's going on at 5 Capitals? We have our Next Level Leader that's coming up on February 21st. This will be our 3rd Next Level Leader. We have learned a lot in the first 2 and gotten really good feedback from the people that are in those. And that has sparked some nuances and some changes that are making this an amazing experience for those emerging leaders in your organization that are coming up. If you don't have time, or you don't have the skill set, you're not quite sure how to teach both the soft and the hard skills that are necessary for those up and coming, diamonds in the rough leaders that are coming through your organization, you're really going to want to sign them up for Next Level Leader, okay? And then third, and I thought this was really important, I listened to this over the holiday break, and I've been kind of holding on to this. I've got a podcast from the Accidental Creative, a friend of mine, who I, through circles and things like that, who has done something on the imposter syndrome. And I know I've talked to a lot of you, my clients, about this, but I know we've got an extended sort of group family listening in on this. And so I want to give you this podcast, and it's about 16 minutes, so it's not a super long podcast, but I would absolutely ask you to listen to this, because I think this is something that we all deal with at some level, and if we're not dealing with it, there's a good chance our people are dealing with it. So I want to make sure you listen to that too. So check that out. And I appreciate you guys and the patience putting this Friday drive together, and we should get back on the regular weekly Friday drives from here. So hope you guys have a great weekend, and we'll see you next week.